Okay, welcome back. We're going to fancy this up a little bit, and what we're going to do is we're going to make him be able to go anywhere he wants to on the screen. So right now you're only dealing with a random X. What we want to do is use that pick random block in lots of ways. First of all, we want to be able to allow him to pick an X or a Y. We want to deal with appropriate ranges like the numbers that it could be. And then we're also going to use the pick random to do things like give him a random color and a position and a size, which is amazing. So the very first thing I want you to try to do is I want you to try to make this so he can teleport anywhere he wants to on the x-axis. So right now he's kind of sequestered, and I want you to allow him to hop wherever he wants. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, at this moment, anytime you click, what we've got so far is that he got a random x between 0 and 100, which means he's sequestered in this little region, and he can just teleport somewhere on that number line. What I want is I want him to be able to teleport anywhere from the far left to the far right. Of course, he wants to stay inside the screen. You don't want him to try to set his X to be like 1,000,000 because, you can think about what your range is, right? But you want him to be able to teleport anywhere on that range of that x-axis. So when I run it, of course it asks me for a time. I'll tell the time. Now when I click him, he can go anywhere he wants to. His X is 98. His X is negative 53. It's 102. Of course, he stays on the screen, but that's your first challenge. So give that a shot. You don't need any new code blocks to do that. You just need to kind of adjust what you've got. Give that a shot. Give the video a pause. Try it out. And then I'll give you a new challenge. Okay, challenge number 2. So you got challenge number 1 together. He can teleport anywhere he wants to on the x-axis. Here's what I want. I want him to be able to go anywhere on the screen. So he's just not going horizontally. He can go horizontally or vertically. Awesome. Let me give you a little tip for that. So your tip is, in your motion block, you have been using your set X, which is cool, but there's also a set Y. Of course, you want to attach it right there when it's clicked. Now, and you want to randomize that. Only thing is you want to be really careful. You want to take a look at, of course you want him to be able to go anywhere from the top to the bottom, but you want to think about the range of numbers that would include, right? You don't want to say like a number you don't want a random number like 437 because that's not a valid Y on your screen. So think about that, and let me show you what that's going to look like. So when you get that appropriately done, what you'll have is something like this. I click him, and his X and Y are both randomized. I got a random X, random Y. I got a random X, random Y. And so so this is more of a kind of a challenging game because you're trying to click him. You got to have good reaction time to get him clicked in the right number of seconds. But his X and Y are both changing appropriately. Now, once you've got that done, and that's awesome, we can also randomize all sorts of things about him, like his direction. So if you take a look, now make sure you pause the video and make him teleport all over the place. If you take a look in his motion, there's also this thing called point in direction, and it's got a 90 in there, but you can put a random number block right there on top of that 90. So you want to make him point, of course you'll put it over here, point in direction. Now how do directions work? They're math, because everything in computers is really math. Directions are just degrees, and Scratch's cat, right now he's always facing to the right. He thinks he's facing 90 degrees, but here's what I want you to think about. He could be facing 45, he could be facing 180, he could be facing 200. I want you to think about the smallest degree value that would be possible, and also the largest degree value that would be possible, because you want some range to pick a random number, which would be pretty cool. Now, that's your degrees. That's your direction you're facing. You can also deal with changing his size. Now that's a little different because that's not in your motion. That's in your looks. Whoops. In your looks you have, where is that thing? Oh, set size. Now size, of course you just throw it in there. Size you can randomize as well, but size is different because it's a percent. Now what I'm going to say is 0%, consarn it, 0% size would be bad, because that means you don't want him to ever accidentally become 0% of his size, because he would disappear. So think about like what would maybe be the smallest percentage of his size you want? 0 is horrible. 1% would be almost too small to see. So maybe, like, do you want him to be somewhere between hamne? So you want to think about a range that would be okay, but 0 or 1 would not be okay. There's also a color effect. Now, color effect, I'm just going to tell you, is some magic number between 0 and 2, but it looks pretty, between 0 and 200, but it looks pretty cool. Now, there's also a ghost effect. A ghost effect, you have, of course, you need a range. It's a percent. 100% ghost is really, really bad because he's totally invisible, and I can't click on him. I don't know where he is. So don't do that. But you want some, 0% means it's normally solid. 50% means he's halfway see-through. So you want to get a range that would be all right. So if you want to deal with some of those cool things, you want this block here that says like set your, and it defaults to be your color effect. But once you get it out there, whoops, once you get it out there, you could also have it be, just switch it to be his ghost effect. And of course you can put a random number block right there. You could switch it, and you can play with some of these things. Some of them I don't even know what they do, but you could play with them. But let me show you kind of what I want, what it should look like when you're done. Okay, so when I hit run, it asks me how many seconds I want to play. Now when I click him, all this stuff about him changes. His color, how see-through he is, what direction he's facing. But now notice, you gotta make sure you pick the right ranges. I'm never letting him get completely invisible. I'm also never letting him accidentally pick a number at 0% size or 1% size. So he's never getting too small. He's never getting too invisible. But he is pretty awesome. So once you get that going on, you get all sorts of things changing about him. It's going to be beautiful. And then come back for the next video. We'll finish up and it'll be amazing.